Namaskar everyone. Welcome to English language teaching class. I hope you all are doing good. In my previous video, I have given a brief introduction of micro teaching. Now in this video, I am going to explain about the concept of micro teaching, its origin, when did micro teaching introduced in India, famous definitions of micro teaching given by renowned scholars and educationists, its objectives, components, and the most important aspect is micro teaching cycle. So without any delay, let's learn the concept of micro teaching. Concept of micro teaching. As we all know that a teacher plays key role in educating the citizen. Hence, the future of the nation depends to a very large extent upon the quality of the teachers. Thus, teacher education is a multidimensional activity that encompasses various aspects of teacher's life and work. Teaching is a social act of influencing pupils by the act of teacher that leads to learning. Micro teaching can be used for recording the class interaction and the behavior of the pupil teacher vividly and accurately that leads to the development of a systematic and accurate method of giving feedback. So in order to achieve educational effectiveness, it is important for the teachers to adopt an effective teaching method and various teaching skills that suits the individual learning style. That is why micro teaching is one of the innovation in the field of technology of teaching, and it is one of the effective teacher training technique, but we won't consider it as a method. Now let us see the origin of micro teaching. Micro teaching basically originated in 1961 at Stanford University, USC by Dwight W. Allen. And it was the demonstration lesson and used at Stanford University until 1961. The demonstration lesson involves a student presenting a lesson to a small group of fellow students while the rest of the class look on. Later on, micro teaching as it was called for the first time in 1963 by Allen and Ryan. When did micro teaching introduce in India? Now let's see this. So micro teaching in India was introduced by the D.D. Tiwari, and he was the first to take up this work in 1967 at the Government Central Pedagogical Institute at Allahabad. It was also known as scale down approach. In 1970, G.B. Shah experimented with micro teaching at MS University, Vadodara. After that, Technical Teacher Education Institute, which is in Madras, now we call it Chennai, micro teaching is given to this training is given to the technical teachers of there. B.K. Pasi in 1976, who is also known as the father of micro teaching, and through his intensive application, it determined the domains of micro teaching. And the first book on micro teaching in India was written by N.L. Dosarj under the caption Modification of the Teacher Behavior Through Micro Teaching in 1977. Now let us see the definition of micro teaching given by eminent scholars. So the first definition was given by the Dwight W. Allen. What he said? He said that micro teaching is a scaled down teaching encountered in class size and time, which means in micro teaching we reduce the time and the number of students and the range of activities. And the second definition is given by Bruce M. Shore. What he said that micro teaching is a real teaching reduced in time, number of students and range of activities. And the another definition of micro teaching is given by Pasi B.K. in 1976. What he said the most important point in micro teaching is that teaching is practiced in terms of definable, observable, measurable and controllable teaching skills. This diagram of micro teaching, here you can see these are all the components of micro teaching, that is the class size, topic size, time duration, and one teaching skill practiced at one time, which means what? So basically micro teaching is a scaled down teaching where we minimize or reduce the things. We reduce the complexity of the real classroom teaching in terms of the number of students. Like here in micro teaching we only take 5 to 10 students in the number, and we reduce the time duration also. Time duration will be of 5 to 10 minutes of any topic, and we reduce the amount of learning content also. A single concept at a time we take in micro teaching, and we practice one teaching skill at one time. So this is about the micro teaching concept. So basically the objective of micro teaching is to prepare teacher trainees for real classroom teaching, and it develops the confidence among trainees to face the challenges of actual classroom teaching. Now look at the components of micro teaching. That what are they? So these are all the components of micro teaching: teacher trainee, teaching skills, micro lesson plan, classroom settings, supervisors, feedback devices. So first of all, we know that who is teacher trainee. So the student who gets the training of a teacher is called teacher trainee. During the training, various capacities like teaching skill, class management, maintaining discipline, and organizing different programs at schools are developed among trainee. The second is the teaching skills. What are they? So micro teaching provides a practical platform to the students for teaching various skills such as introduction, explanation, questioning and answering, reinforcement, stimulus variation, classroom management, and the use of blackboard. Teaching aids are taught through micro teaching sessions. Students are required to teach a small group of students for a short span of time. Now the third component is very important: micro lesson plan. So basically it is an essential ingredient of micro teaching. Teacher trainee prepares a short lesson after selecting a particular skill and content. And of course the next one is the classroom setting. So setting of a class is precondition for the success of micro teaching. So in this direction, the whole class is divided into number of groups which should not be more than 10 students. Then time duration between 5 to 10 minutes is fixed for each step and each training. Now who are the supervisors? Supervisors are basically teacher educators, and they play crucial role in behavior modification of trainee, providing constructive feedbacks. The trainer and fellow trainees both observe the performance of trainee and subsequently provide necessary feedbacks for the purpose of behavior modification. The term supervisor is comprised of teacher trainer and fellow trainees. And the last but not least, this is the component feedback device. This is very important. So the feedback components of micro teaching contribute significantly toward behavior modification of training in desired direction and acquisition of mastery level of skill. So beside physical observation, feedback devices such as audio tape, video tapes are also used to observe the classroom performance of training. Look at the time duration of micro teaching. So the time duration of micro teaching is about the 36 minutes. So in this first teaching session where the teacher trainee teaches any skill or content, it is about for 6 minutes, and the feedback session which is given by the supervisor is in 6 minutes, is done in 6 minutes. And again when the teacher trainee is replanning the session, it takes almost 12 minutes, and then again reteach session is done by the teacher trainee, which takes the 6 minutes, and again feedback session which is given by the supervisor, it takes 6 minutes. So the total amount of time is the 36 minutes. In this slide you can see the steps and cycle of micro teaching. Well, Students, this is very important slide to understand the whole concept of micro teaching. Now look at the first step of micro teaching. What it is? Defining a specific skill. This is the first step of micro teaching. Okay, so this step is basically done by the supervisor, or you can say the teacher educator or teacher trainer. So here in this step, a specific skill like introduction skill or questioning skill or explanation skill or stimulus variation skill, any skill is defined in the form of teaching behavior, and the knowledge of this defined skill is provided to the teacher trainers by the teacher educators. Now the next step is the demonstration of the skill. This skill also is done by the teacher educators or teacher trainers. So the skills are demonstrated through the micro teaching lesson plan, and teacher trainee is observing all these. Now the third step is the micro teaching lesson plan. Now here you can see in this micro teaching cycle, the first step is the plan. So basically this plan is the micro teaching lesson plan, which is done by the teacher trainee with the help of teacher educators. He planned the micro teaching lesson, and after planning that micro teaching lesson, he or she is going to teach a small group of students. Okay, so teaching a small group of students, this is the teaching, the second step of this micro teaching cycle. Okay, so the teacher trainee, what does he do? He takes a small group of 5 to 10 students and then teach the lesson to small group of people and supervised by the supervisor and peers. Now after teaching, now the third step come over here in this cycle is the feedback. Now here you can see this is another step of this. This and this feedback is the same thing, and this feedback is given by the supervisor or teacher educators. So on the basis of observation of a lesson, the supervisor gives feedback to the teacher trainee. The supervisor reinforces the instances of effective use of the skill and draws attention of the teacher trainee to the points where he could not do well. Okay, and after that giving that feedback, that teacher trainee again replan that content, and then again he reteach, and again this re-feedback is given by the teacher supervisor or teacher trainer. Okay, so in this way, as you can see, the cycle of replanning, reteaching and re-evaluation goes on till the teacher trainee develops a certain level of teaching skill. So this micro teaching cycle goes till that. Okay, so this is about the concept of micro teaching cycle. At last but not least, eventually we can say that micro teaching is an excellent way to build up skills and confidence, to experience a range of lecturing or tutoring styles, and to learn and practice giving constructive feedback, and it makes the teacher education more purposeful, goal-oriented, and helps to decide common objectives for the program. It is a safe practice which is a useful vehicle for providing continuous education to serving teachers. So thank you very much for watching this video, and we will come up soon with another interesting video based on micro teaching skills. Till then, bye bye, take care, have a nice day.